Grab your tea. I'm having whatever this is. Is this fennel? Is this German? I don't actually know. I picked it hoping it was chamomile, and I have no clue what I've done. Hi, as you can see, I'm at a restaurant. Unless you thought this was just like my personal home decor. I do want to shout out the luxury of living in a country where COVID is not endemic anymore. I forgot how nice it was to just like go have, you know, a lunch and also have peace of mind about that decision. Amazing. Welcome to Blueprints Volume 7. 7? Yeah, this is definitely a fennel-like tea. Fennel tea. I didn't know that was a thing, but it's not bad. We're talking about my personal study today. By far, my most frequent request for my existence online is, Ismatu, what are you reading? I want to know what you're reading. To be honest, it feels a lot like when people ask me for my skincare routine. I could tell you, yes, of course, the products that I use on the regular, but my face is not yours. 90% of the skin is genetic, okay? And living in the motherland, my skin just looks like this. Now, I don't want to sell you my radiance in a bottle when my genetic makeup affords me this with ease, okay? That and not letting someone's dusty ass sun stress you out. In the same vein, reading lists are an easy sell online, especially from people that we consider to be community leaders or servants or activists in some way. Reading helps you feel productive and feel worldly and educated, and I'm not knocking that. I love that feeling. I love feeling productive. I love feeling well informed, but reading is not going to take you to a point of meaningful and sustained action, okay? Engaging directly with your material circumstances will. Material here meaning what you can see and touch and sense, like with your physical body in the physical plane. I am really slow to recommend reading, especially in list form, because while I do have books that I have found helpful over time that I continually return to, the viral reading list of 2020 that continue to haunt me, I don't know that I'd go so far as to call it a psyop, but I was witnessing overt violence from the state, right? Like the batons came out, the hoses came out, the pepper spray, the rubber tip bullets came out. People walked away from those maimed and injured personally and physically and psychologically. And HuffPost was saying things like, 10 books to increase your racial IQ. What the fuck? So I feel about recommending reading like I feel about recommending skincare. It's not going to give you my life setup. I read to better engage with the material life that I have, not the other way around. I like these books because they work for my life. When I realized the gaps in knowledge that I had that needed to be addressed, things that you can only realize by being active, right? Then I improved my theory, upgraded my theory so that I could better hone my practice. I write this as a warning, a disclaimer of sorts. This is not a chicken and the egg situation in which we don't know what came first, okay? Action is pretty much always the thing that you do first. The only real thing that truly compels your life forward or can change the material conditions of yourself, your family, your community, your nation state, whatever, is embodied, personified, applied knowledge, okay? It's what you do. I am most definitely in the reading is fundamental to revolution camp, because it is. You have to read. In fact, reading is fundamental to everything that you want to do excellently. Every person who is excellent in their output, regardless of the field, the circumstance, the product, the purpose, every single excellent person read for that shit. I am not, however, in the reading is fundamentally radical camp. I do not think that reading is fundamentally a radical thing to do. Radical meaning a significant and undeniable departure from the systems that we currently have in place. It is really easy to find yourself nesting and cozy in the towers of intellectualism, where the things that you have learned have no real material impact on your day-to-day. You just feel better about knowing. I have also half a mind to call this a psyop. I digress. Reading is fundamental to revolution. Revolution exists outside. Outside. Okay, you gotta get on your Zoom. If you actually want any sort of sustained radical action, you do need to leave your house. You gotta get outside. Reading is what you do to ensure that that time outside is spent really well. It's spent as effectively as possible. Let me take a sip of my tea. In regards to my blueprints, I do think that noting what I have read through each month will be really helpful to contextualizing the work of my day. My lived experience, you know, exposes these blocks or barriers or challenges or gaps of knowledge. So I utilize reading to help me navigate the challenges that the growth present. The reason I spent the first few episodes of Blueprints talking about my operating systems was because 2024 showed me that my operating systems are easily overwhelmed for the life that I have now. I kept experiencing burnout and anxiety, which was new, and overwhelm, which I would liken to a computer system not being able to handle the applications that you have running on it. Like, I just needed an operating system upgrade to be able to handle the work that is currently passing through my hands. So with all that being said, okay, take that as a grain of salt. My books ain't your books. Here's what I read in January, and all these books should be linked. Like, if you click on the picture, it should take you to a PDF because knowledge should be free. Nobody Called the Cops. I dissected this section into full reads, partial reads, and like just like the piecemeal reads, which is something I read like chapter by chapter or essay by essay. Different books introduce different kinds of knowledge, so I engage with those kinds of knowledge, within their own regard, but we'll talk about it. So for the full read category, these tend to be narrative pieces where there's a story being told that has like a clear beginning, middle, and end. So the crux of the book comes when you have finished the book and you can analyze the story from beginning, middle to end. Now that you know what happens, it's helpful to read the whole thing. So for the first of those, we got Shoe Dog by Phil Knight. I really enjoyed it because it helps me to remember that these larger than life, behemoth, ubiquitous companies all began with just like some person going, what if, like what if I like, but that's crazy, right? But what if, I feel significantly less crazy in my what if ideas having read this book. I really enjoyed it. Phil Knight, if you did not know, is the founder and CEO, or the first CEO of Nike. I think he's since stepped down, but the story goes through him becoming like a middle of the pack track athlete to a college graduate who was just trying to like figure out what was happening next with this crazy what if idea, and then applying that crazy what if idea over the course of years and just like refusing to give up. I really enjoyed this book. It was lovely. I do think the story is well written. I think it speaks to the benefit of a positive obsession when you are just like obsessed with something, obsessed with a particular kind of work, upset, like, he's going through this going, does the world really need another athletic shoe company? Because you had Tigers already, you had Adidas, you had, Converse, you had all of those things, right? This is the 1970s, but he still does it. And apparently the world did decide that we need him because Nike's everywhere. And this was, especially like reading it, I'm tangentially a little bit, but reading it and hearing him ideate, like, oh my gosh, what if we wore running shoes outside of just running or outside of just athletics? What if people wore athletic shoes everywhere? What if people wore athletic shoes just to walk around in their day-to-day? I was like, oh my gosh, there was once a world where that was not a thing. Like the reason that I'm sitting here after a long day walking around in my Nikes and my Air Jordans. So I'm like, the fact that you fundamentally, permanently changed standard fashion because of the crazy what if idea that you had, Phil Knight, is like, it was just so good to read about, especially the amount of shit that went wrong along the way, the amount of shit that he had to persevere through. Yeah, I enjoyed it. Very enjoyable, so long as you are able to suspend your "this is a white man" disbelief. There is no point where that is made clearer than when he, a 29-year-old, marries his first year intro to accounting college student that sits in the front row. Of course, he was teaching. Anyways, I also read Mother-Daughter Murder Night by Nina Simon. This book was recommended to me by my friend Suze. Thank you, Suze. It was so good. It is a murder mystery that centers a diva hotshot real estate mom who has cancer, moves back in with her daughter and her granddaughter to be able to navigate her newfound cancer diagnosis, and then just jumps 2 feet first into an active murder investigation because she just like needs something to do. I give you no spoilers because I do want you to read it, but I whipped through this one in like 3 days. It was so fun. I do always love to include some well-written fiction to remind me that I should be reading for fun and enjoyment and not solely for the purposes of world domination. Highly recommend. Highly recommend. We also had The 12-Week Year, Get More Done in 12 Weeks Than Others Do in 12 Months by Brian P. Morgan and Michael Lennington. You've been keeping up with Blueprints. You heard me talk about this book. I've been talking about this book. You have most definitely heard me talk about it. It's 173 pages. It's jam-packed with everything that you could want or need to know about utilizing the 12-week year system as an operating system, otherwise known as quarterly planning. Although I do enjoy like the finality of a year. Again, this was my experience going to both my undergraduate and my graduate degree, because they both operated on a quarter system. You could call it a quarter all you want. Understand that at the end of this point in time, you are going to take your final examinations. Your transcript is going to be changed forever, so move accordingly. I suspect I will be returning to this book time and time again now that I have implemented the 12-week year. I am noticing that I have some of the same bad habits in terms of like studying and production as I did in undergrad, where the first like 4 weeks of my quarter, I was like la-da-da, and then I would look up and it was week 5. Week 5 is when midterms start. At Northwestern, week 5 is when midterms start, and midterms start and don't stop. You will have a midterm every week until you're final. I do wish that I had taken the time to cultivate those habits when I was younger. So now, I'm still young, right, 26, I have the time to cultivate those habits now. And I kept thinking to myself like, wow, I could really be an easily A student if I was just willing to take the first 4 weeks of my quarter seriously. And do you know how the first 4 weeks of this quarter went? Old Habits Die Hard. But it's really helpful, and I'm excited to continue to push myself. We have the halfway books. These are the books that I did not feel like pressed to get through in January because they are knowledge based, and so taking some time to apply the knowledge before you read the next step is the most effective way to engage with the book. I am a firm believer in, especially if it's a praxis book, the point is not to ingest all of the knowledge before you act. Once you get to a point where you have learned a new thing, where you didn't actually know, where you've gone, oh, I didn't previously know that, but now that I know that I could do things differently, stop reading the book. Do the thing that you learned. Do it now. Don't wait until you have like the right amount of knowledge to act immediately, act accordingly, and spend some time cultivating that action so that you can like work up some questions, tweak some things, work out the kinks, and then return to the book and read a little bit more. So there were 3 of these books, I believe. The first one is Building a Second Brain by Tiago Forte. And this was recommended to me by, not to me personally, but from the videos of Dr. Tiffany Shelton. I've been really enjoying the stuff that she puts out into the world and very grateful for it. And this book is a slam dunk. No one had ever recommended me this book before. I'd never heard of it before. So I'm ending January about halfway through Building a Second Brain. It is a book about utilizing your digital tools and products to be able to have like an interconnected garden space, you know, this is my rhetoric, but an interconnected garden space of knowledge, and organizing your long list of like archives or everything that you own on your computer systems or your Notion files or your Notes app or whatnot, consolidating those into projects that are organized by acute work, active, long-term work, and then work that's not necessarily quite active, but work that might come into effect at any point in time. So I did tweak this from what the book says, but I organized my Notion space into current projects, which is that like active acute work, like I'm dealing with these topics every day, to long-term projects, you know, the work that is stuff that I still have to do every day or multiple times a week, but the fruits of that labor will not be seen for a longer amount of time, such as language learning, germinating projects, meaning that this work is not like, these are still just seedlings, but these are seedlings I know are going to sprout at some point in time. So I do want to make sure that I have those resources available for when they sprout, because I don't actually control when these seeds germinate. When the time is right, they will bloom. You have the resources that are affiliated with your project, and then you have the archives, which are the things that aren't necessarily pertinent right now, but might be pertinent at some point in the future. I have really enjoyed this book. And like I said, I'm only halfway through it because every time I learn a new piece of information, I apply it to my own operating system and see how that works for me. These next 2 ones I have been listening to instead of reading, even though I do have them on PDF and I will be sharing them. The first one is Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway by Dr. Susan Jeffers. People have recommended me this book up and down. Now I'm trying to hear that shit. I really was not since undergrad, but especially in grad school. It was, have you read Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway? And you know what? I'm gonna be so real. When enough like white graduate students walk up to me and be like, have you read this book? It changed my life. I'm like, I'm good. Kaylee, I'll circle back to this one sometime. But I don't know if it's just spite or what. That's how I feel about Game of Thrones. Like I don't know why I'm such a hater, but I turn into such a hater once a book has been recommended to me over 5 times. I'm like, y'all can keep it. Whatever cult you've joined, I want no part. However, turns out Dr. Jeffers actually did do her big one on this one. Damn, I have been enjoying listening to her read the audio version of this book. I'm working through it slowly because there are various activities, prompts, meditations, etc. that the book suggests you engage in. So again, this is not one that it is helpful necessarily to read, like whip through cover to cover to get the narrative down, because there isn't a narrative. There's no benefit in rushing. So you all have seen me write about how afraid I am and how I've been dealing with this new sensation of fear. So it has been really helpful to have something to work through that talks about how to handle and feel fear as an adult person. I have also been listening to Your First Million by Arlen Hamilton. Incredibly helpful for understanding company growth and venture capital. I studied English, okay? Like I don't know a whole lot about the creator economy, the venture capital economy, the economy in general. I'm halfway through listening to this book. Working in Sierra Leone is requiring me to put on my big boss brain business cap, and I'm going to be honest, I just realized I was out of my depth quite quickly. So this book has a lot of useful tips about networking, about capital acquisition, about financing, about company growth, the different kinds of company growth. And I also just really enjoy Arlen reading her own work. her narrative and her own story is embedded within the text about the things that she learned and when she learned them. And it's actually about wow, she went from being like homeless to, you know, a multi-million-dollar venture capitalist, and a black woman at that. So I've been enjoying it. Now, is it going to turn me into a capitalist? No. Am I likely going to be a venture capitalist? You know, probably. It would be surprising. It's not on my bingo card. However, understanding these systems is helping me understand the world that I am wading through, especially in a country so ripe with economic opportunity like Sierra Leone, where civilians see like underdeveloped or war-torn or something like that. Investors see places with which to buy up capital to build resorts. And so if I don't learn to compete with these people that are buying up like and privatizing beaches, lands, mines, farmlands, etc., I'm going to be bought out of my own country. So that's one of the reasons that I'm reading this book, and it just has been really helpful for me understanding where I am situationally within Sierra Leone. Oh, all right, last but not least, we have the piecemeal book that I have been just kind of chewing on. I keep that thing on me. Jamaica Kincaid, The Woman You Are. Look at her, stunning. This is The Garden by Jamaica Kincaid. I keep it literally in my go pack so I can just read it when I'm sitting. I can read it by the beach. I can read it when I'm waiting for something. Sierra Leone is a country, not Leone's falling out, LMAO. Sierra Leone is a country that moves very slowly, so this has just been my like throw it in the backpack book. I have been enjoying the mess out of this book, and it actually it makes me mad how good Jamaica Kincaid is. A person named Jackie K on the back of this particular book that I picked up. I was a blind copy, like I've never heard of Jamaica Kincaid before, but I was in a bookshop in Hackney and I was like, you know what, this looks good, it's calling to me, it's called My Garden, I want to see what this is about. I read everything by Jamaica Kincaid, and still I've never read anyone like her. If you are new to Kincaid, I envy you. I said, that's crazy. That's actually a wild thing to say. That's quite an endorsement. So I picked it up, and this lady is right. This Jackie woman who wrote that, or whoever, Jackie person, you were right. It is so annoying. It's so annoying how excellent she is at bringing you down into her detailed day-to-day. I'm mad. I'm mad as hell. It's an entire, you see this book? It's not, she's not cheap. It's full. It's not cheap, okay? This book is an entire book-length collection of essays just about her garden. Do you know how good you have to be at writing to take me down to the caterpillar level, to take me down to you talking about what you planted in the spring and the catalogs you look through in the winter and the way that your children run through your garden, etc. And for me to not get bored, it's over 200 pages of just her talking about her garden and the things surrounding her garden. Do you know how good of an essayist you have to be to take me in that close? What the fuck, Jamaica Kincaid? I'm mad. Just angry. She makes me want to throw a shoe. I read an essay or two from her a week or so. I read about an essay a week, maybe two, if I'm lucky, if I just get downtime such that I can just flip through these essays. They're about 20 pages each. It's serious work, okay? And it's good every time. It reminds me that I have pen sharpening to do, that I can get better at what I'm doing now. Also, college East Montu would die rather than write an essay. I hated essays. I was such a prim and proper poet, so I didn't see the point of an essay. Why say in 10 pages what I could say in 5 stanzas? I'm such a different artist now. I'm finding so many different channels of use for my art. So I really, really appreciate a good essay and a good essayist now that I understand a bit more about how hard it is to do something like this. And then even then, actually in college, I still think that I would have really liked Jamaica Kincaid. On February's list, inshallah, 4-Hour Workweek by Timothy Ferriss, The Business of Writing by Jane Friedman, The Sisterhood by Courtney Thorson, 491 Days a Prisoner, 491 Days Prisoner, number 132369 by the effervescent Winnie Mandela. I've actually never seen her maternal surname, Mandela, Winnie Mandela, but her maternal surname is Mandikizela. And Start a Riot, Civil Unrest in the Black Arts Movement, Drama, Fiction, and Poetry by Cesare Lavada Abdul Ghani. I'm gonna get it for February. Okay. Thank you so much. Have a good one. This fennel tea is good. It's good. This fennel tea is good. I have no idea what's going on here. Fennel. It's good.